Hi, everyone. We'll get started in just a few seconds here. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Malhoit. I'm the Director of Technical Content at Men&Mice, and today we are going to be discussing automating DNS, DHCP, and IPAM with Maestro through the Maestro APIs, of course. I'll be running this 5 or 10 minute demo today. Very short, very informal. Please feel free to leave questions or comments in the comment section of whatever platform you're watching me on, and I'll try to get to those in real time. Today, we're going to go over how we can authenticate to the Maestro API, especially using Postman, but we'll kind of go through a step by step process, if you will. Before we get to that, though, I do just want to briefly level set on what Maestro is and to just tell you a little bit about the API we'll be using today. So, Maestro is a DNS, DHCP, and IPAM DDI overlay and orchestration solution. So what you get is a really easy way to manage your entire DDI environment, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's on premises, but from just one GUI or one API, depending on, of course, what you're trying to do. So for example, if you are creating workflows to grab IPAM information or create a new DNSA record, you would have to create separate workflows, whether you're in AWS using Route 53 or Azure DNS or on premises, maybe using Microsoft or Bind. With Maestro, you just talk to the one API, and then Maestro will talk to all of those solutions and services for you. So, therefore, even if you were to change cloud providers in the future or change your underlying services on premises, you could still continue to use those same scripts and workflows that go through the Maestro APIs because, again, we are an overlay solution. Okay. Anyway, so before you can start using workflows, of course, you need to be able to access the API. And that's, of course, what we'll be talking about today. So, first of all, in Maestro, you must have the right permissions to do anything, whether you're using the UI, whether you're using the APIs. And Maestro uses a pure role based access control solution. And that's what I'm showing here. Just so you can see it visually, I wanted to pull up the web UI, show you what that looks like. And I have roles up right here. Now, when I say pure role based, it means that anything, any allow or deny, any permissions are actually assigned to roles. And then users and groups must be assigned to those roles in order to get permissions. You can't assign permissions directly to a user or a group. That just makes it a lot easier to deal with, especially if you're an enterprise. It's best not to have, dozens or hundreds or thousands of permissions that you're dealing with. It actually becomes less secure that way. So dealing in a role-based way is really a nice way to handle this kind of access. All right. So moving on, let's jump to the APIs, which is what you're all here to see. I'm just showing the Maestro REST API here. If you missed some of our previous weeks, we do jump into this a little bit more. If you just jump on the Men and Mice YouTube, there's an automation playlist. You can see everything from the past to there, but you don't need that for today is the good news. Um, Again, we're going to concentrate on authorization. So I do just want to show how this all works. When I went to the API here, I actually went to the same URL that I used for my web UI, as you can see there, but I appended it with this mmws/API/doc. Now, if you're going to Maestro in your own environment, as long as you have web services installed, you'll obviously have a different domain than I do, but you will append it with that same information, mmws/API/doc. What we can do then to see login information is actually just put login up there. Now, what this did is it didn't ask me to log in because I'm actually already logged in, as you saw, via the web UI. So I have a session open with this browser through the magic of cookies and all of that good stuff. My session is still open, so I don't have to log in again on this browser. You can see I get that actual session ID here. If I were to bring up a different browser, then I can show you, and it's going to show you what I was just showing you, but it does ask me for my login information because I don't have a session saved or a session open currently using the Microsoft browser. Okay, let's jump over to Postman. Again, if you're not familiar with Postman, there's a lot of information out there, including our blogs and including our automation playlist. So go ahead and check that out. But let's jump in here. So in order to get information, I need to fill in the request URL. that is the exact same URL I just showed you in the browser, right? I'm using the get command. So I'm reading some information. I use the get command and I click send. Now, oh, now this is a good learning, right? So I didn't actually specify any authorization. So we'll go ahead and click basic auth, and that's what I want to use in order to make sure that I actually have access to my APIs. As you can see, very secure, right? Because it wouldn't let me get any information. We'll click send again, and now you can see with the username and password that I did get a session ID. It's a different session ID than, of course, I was using in my browser because it is, in fact, a different session. But you can see status 200 OK. That means I am successfully logged in. What I want to show as part of this, as we kind of become more familiar with what this all means, are just a couple of the key value pairs that stand out. So if I look at authorization, I can click on this I for information icon for any of these key value pairs. But basically, the authorization shows that I am, in fact, using a basic authorization for the REST API, and then it's encoded it. This is essentially my username and password, but encoded so that it can pass it along, not in plain text, to my API. The other thing I want to show here is the connection key value pair. So connection is keep alive, and that is what's keeping my session alive. So if I were to go in and then maybe try to grab some IP information or try to create a DNS record, I would be able to do that now because I'm logged in and I have a live session. I can change this to close, for example, and that would close the session immediately after I hit send. Obviously, not very useful if I'm just logging in, but good to know in case we do need that kind of security involved. Let's go into authorization a little bit more. So, inherit authorization from parent. Actually go over that more next week when we talk more about collections. Just wanted to mention, give you a little teaser, but just to make things a little bit easier, that is an option. There's, of course, the no auth option, which means I don't need to enter a username or password. Maybe it's a completely open API. I do have an example of that here. If I were to go to this URL and then click send, you can see that it doesn't require a username and password. And then it gives me this information because it was, again, 200. Okay, successful. And let's just pop that open and see what it sent me. And it's a picture of a dog because that API just gives you random pictures of dogs. But it's a good way to practice. And that was a little scary opening a picture live here for everyone, but I'm glad it worked out. Let's go back into some of these other authorization types. I'm not going to go through everything as we're kind of running out of time here, but API key is certainly another one. It's an older method and probably not very secure, but basically, an API may require an API key in order to access it. The problem with API keys is that they don't expire, and a lot of people tend to get access to them. So there's really no way to cut off that access then without doing a lot of rebuilding and other such things on the API end. So avoid that if you can, but it is sometimes required, or you can sometimes do public cloud things with API keys. But I just wanted to point that out. The bearer token is very much like it sounds. The bearer of this token may cross the bridge, may enter this API and use it. Again, if your API requires a bearer token, then that's what you would use. There are some things if you're using single sign-on, for example, or maybe multi-factor authentication, where you might make use of OAuth 1.0 or 2.0. And then, of course, NTLM authentication for anything maybe LDAP related. So there are ways to get around the single sign-on, or not get around, but actually use the single sign-on. That's all I'm going to go over for today. My 10 minutes are up, but please leave comments if you are looking for specific demos, specific workflows that might add value to your life. Go ahead and leave those in the comments. We do have a poll going right now on LinkedIn and Twitter if you would like to let us know what workflows you're looking for there too. We're always open for more information, and we will see you again next week. Thanks, everyone.